Hi, lovely to have you here. Welcome to the Electro Revolution channel. My name is Michael and I'm a car and tech enthusiast. In this series of episodes, we're going through free EV charging. I hope so far you've watched episodes 1, 2 and 3. If you haven't, I invite you to go watch them because they give you the full 8 tips from episode 1 to episode 2 to episode 3 for free EV charging facilities within, of course, Australia, but of course in your countries too. You will have something very, very similar in your countries because what you find is countries copy each other in the offerings and services that they do. So in this particular episode, we're going to go through the 2 mobile apps primarily that are used to find free EV chargers. I hope you enjoy this episode. Okay, so what I've done for our benefit is I've cleaned up my mobile, and this is the mobile screen you're looking at here, just so we can concentrate on the particular applications which I'm prepared to show. So if we click, of course, on the EV car, these are the applications that are currently installed on my phone. If we go to PlugShare, which will be the first application we'll be reviewing. Now, as you can see, straight away it brings up the maps. Okay, now the main thing to look at here is the filters. So if we jump into the filters, we see here you need to enable type 2 because many of the free chargers are actually type 2 chargers. And of course we can have CCS2 because some of the free charging actually has CCS2. Not all of them, but some of them do. Now of course you pick your vehicle. This is just one of the vehicles. It doesn't really matter what vehicle I choose because I've got both the Atto 3 and the BYD Seal. They're both identical in terms of charging capacities. The station count, now we do want even one station because that's relevant. If it's busy, we'll know it's busy in the application. If it's not busy, we can go straight there. We can time it and do various things like that. So the most important thing here is the amenities. Now, we don't really care too much about Wi-Fi, valet parking, hiking, groceries, that sort of stuff. What we're interested in is the free charging. So we make sure that that particular icon is selected. Now that's not to say that some of these sites won't have amenities. Of course they will. Some sites will have free Wi-Fi so you can watch YouTube videos and various things like that. But that's not our key point here. Our key point is to look at free charges. So let's go back to filters. Now we can pick any one of these quite randomly. Let's say this Polish club, and this will tell us if it's actually working, available, not working, whether we need to bring our own type 2 cable or not. So let's jump into here, see what we see. Okay, so this looks like it's an underground car park. It's under the ChargeFox application. We've got here quite a number of actual plugs. It's important that, it's important, see how it says here, club underground car park, public access, it's free parking. It's got pull-in. It's also got Wi-Fi, which is quite great because, of course, in an underground car park, it's likely your mobile signal won't reach and it'll be blocked. So to have Wi-Fi under there also, you can watch your YouTubes or series or anything like that while you're doing the charging. So here you see people that have either successfully charged or not successfully charged. So this gentleman, of course, what would you expect? No phone reception. Of course you won't in an underground car park. It's all the concrete. So I couldn't see how else I could charge my car. So essentially what he's saying is I needed Wi-Fi. He should have connected to Wi-Fi in this area because when you connect to the Wi-Fi and it's possible that it's free Wi-Fi, you'll be able to use the ChargeFox app. And if you're able to use the ChargeFox app, then you're able to plug in. So this gentleman here says, Alex, he says, these were only recently brought online. Bring your own cable, same as most ChargeFox stations, which is exactly right. And another successful one here. So let's pick another random one. You know, it doesn't matter what you select. This one's a bit out of Sydney. Okay, it's got one plug, which is what I wanted. Like that you can get more plugs, but I'm looking at concentrating on a one plug system. Let's see how this works. It's also a type 2. Very likely you need to bring your own cable. We scroll down. Okay, it says here it's got a cost, which is interesting. book in advance, charge and pay through the EVgo app. So technically this is a fault in the PlugShare application because I specifically said, give me free charges. So let's jump to maybe this one here, Eastern Creek Quarter, a 4.1 plug score. Now, I like the way PlugShare actually color codes the results of the plug scores. You do want a higher plug score. That's really what it comes down to. The lower plug scores, these are rated by the community. As you can see, 393 check-ins. And that essentially is saying most of the time, this is not a good charging site. And as you can see here, it says under repair. So there's some broken charges there. If we go to the charges, okay, they're pretty good number of charging stations. So you've got one charging station here with 2 plugs and another charging station here with 2 plugs. It's free at all times. And another thing you want to look at just for safety is that it's well lit. Sometimes they do specify the lighting. Okay. It says here you don't need to use the ChargeFox apps, just plug in, which is okay. This is what I was looking for: illuminated parking and pull-in parking. This is important if you're charging at night, say 2 o'clock in the morning or 11 o'clock at night. You do want an illuminated car park just for the safety reasons. You don't want to be in total pitch black. And Tesla have known this with their new Goulburn 20 stall charging station. If you look in Goulburn, Tesla have an 8 stall charging station, which is actually very dimly lit. And that's one of the complaints that Tesla received. And in that case, the new charging station that Tesla took into account, they gave it a lot of lighting. So what we can see here, it's got some dining, EV parking, groceries, restrooms, and shopping. And it's open 24/7. And as you can see, the 4.1 score is sourced from the community. So I would expect at 4.1, many people actually struggle at this particular site, which is what we see here. You want something like 6.0 and above. You'll see some 6.1, 6.2, some even 9 point. You want 6 and above. They're usually color coded in green. So let's go to another charger. Again, I'm picking them randomly. This hasn't been prepared earlier. Castle Towers Shopping Centre. That's got a 6.7 score. Partially under repair and Tesla only. So it's clear that this is a Tesla only site, and if you're running Xpeng or Geely or BYD or MG or any of the other third party or non-Tesla, I shouldn't say third party, any of the other non-Tesla vehicles, you won't be able to charge at this one. But if you've got a Tesla vehicle, what we can see here, it's got 3 plugs for the Teslas. Parking free for customers who visit for 3 hours or less, or who enter the center after 6 p.m. So this would be a site that, actually this is interesting, you could even watch a movie there. You could drop in, charge your car and go to the cinema and enjoy the night. Otherwise, of course, if you want to stay in the vehicle, you can. And we'll pick one more before we close off this section. So 8.0 plug score with 2 plugs, and they're all type 2 chargers. Very likely you have to bring your own cable, as I've mentioned earlier. We've got 2 type 2s at 22 kilowatt. That's incredible. If you're a Tesla owner here, you would definitely want to charge at this site. At 22 kilowatt, that's fantastic, and it's totally free. Great coffee and breakfast. Enter from Monavale Road, or you will need to go against the one-way signs to get to the front of the building, or head back to Monavale Road, a kilometre or so to get to the charges. Call council and shopping centres, etc. Request more EV charging infrastructure, and it's totally free. Pull-in parking. Okay, it does have a time limit, so it's not a 24-hour charging station. The cables are very short. This is something to know. There was a Tesla parked in one of the spots not charging, which, I mean, honestly, that's not good form. If you've done that, and that's a Geely driver, so if you've done that, you really need to move your vehicle. It's nice to leave actually a pleasant note to remind the driver not to take parking spaces when people actually rely on these. But it's something for all of us to note when we do charging at these sites, and even DC charging at paid sites. It's the same etiquette. There's a set of untold rules. You can look them up, and that's if you're not charging, don't take the spot. But nevertheless, what we've got here is the PlugShare app. It is quite useful. However, as I mentioned in the earlier video, it does not show all free charging apps. So that's what we're going to go through now. So what we're going to look at here is the EV Council of Australia, their charging app. Now, going to their website, they do a ton of things for Australians and electric vehicles. But basically they also have this component that they supply and an app that they supply where they have chargers like the Explorer network and other networks, which they include and they monitor within the application. That's completely available free of charge when you go to those chargers. Now, I can't speak too much for international people and international countries, the way they do things. Maybe as you go through this application, you can research in your country and see if your governments or there's organizations or associations that supply exactly the same thing within your country. And of course, if you do, leave some in the comments. At least people will know that in your country, there's similar facilities like this. But in Australia, this is what we have, and it is quite a good application. So let's go through it. It's called Charge at Large. And what you find here is essentially New South Wales and Sydney, which is the city I'm in. I mean, you can't see it, of course, but Sydney's somewhere in there. Now, the main thing that we need to look at is the filtering. So number one, we need to make sure only show available charges. So we'll tick that. And of course, as before, as PlugShare, we're only interested in the Type 2 and the CCS2 charges. So there's other things here that you can, these are all the networks that they represent and that they particularly log. So you'll find a lot of Explorer, you'll find a lot of the AGL ones in there, and these other ones, Charge and Go and things like that. So you can specify in here what you want to see and what you don't want to see, as long as we're not selecting individual things to grey them out, then we're effectively selecting all. So we don't care really too much about wide bays and 0 to 350 kilowatts. We don't really care about that. So we'll click apply. And as you'll see, a lot of the zeros have now disappeared. And these are actually active charges now. So if we look at something like 8, that shows quite good colors. Then if you look at something like this one, which says 3, you'll notice there's a red color there with the green. Now that could mean that there's a faulty charger there or that it's currently in use. So let's take an example of that one. The Max Weber library. You see it's a 7 kilowatt charger. It's an Explorer system and it's got 2 actual chargers within it and both are available, which is a good thing. And of course, once you click here, that'll open up either Waze or Google Maps for my phone. If you've got other applications, it'll actually ask you which application do you prefer, or you can click that car icon there. And the same thing if we were to go to 8. The Edmondson Tavern, it's got 22 kilowatt chargers, completely available and completely free. Now, the interesting thing about this application is not only, to say for example, you frequently go to this one, you can actually favorite this one, or in the application they call it a like. Close that and then actually go to the liked charging stations here. And it shows you a good way of seeing how far they are in distance. So that's the map view, and we've also got here a list view. And again, it shows you from where you're located how far these chargers are. And of course the kilowatts that they support, the number of chargers that they have. Let's look at this one. So this one shows at the moment at the Blacktown Workers Club that there's a type 2 in use, but 3 are available. And most probably they've got a car park within there. We go back to the map view, and that's essentially the application. Something very easy to use, something that you can like for the or favorite for the sites that you want to charge at, and something that you can look at completely anywhere in Australia. You look at all this. Now, all of these are free charges, all of them. So, of course, there's not many, unfortunately, in South Australia. There's quite a number in Western Australia, and this is where the main population is. The rest that you see up there is desert. And we've also got some in the Northern Territory and some in Queensland. But as you can see, Sydney, which is New South Wales, which is that area there, and Victoria, which is the bottom area there, have quite a number of them available. And of course, as more come on board, this application will be updated. Now, if you're looking for the free charges, what this essentially means, and this would be my last comments on these particular applications, is you need both PlugShare and this application. You can't just use PlugShare and you can't just use this application. Both applications do a great job of making available these public charges, and of course some of them have time limits between 5 and 8 or 10 a.m. and 6 p.m, things like that. But it's important you understand that you can look at these applications and find the charges that you want. They are completely free, so you don't have to pay a cent. And some of them that offer the Wi-Fi access and things like that, just as I've spoken about within the PlugShare app, you can look them up within the application or externally to the application. So if you want more information than this application can provide, I'd suggest going to the actual site, maybe using Google Maps or something like that, and looking at more details, or their website, and looking at more details of how they actually supply the charging. So I really hope you enjoyed this episode. I'll leave my closing comments, but this is essentially what covers both applications and something that's useful for you and me as we look for charges that are totally free that we don't have to pay for. We are a national body representing the electric vehicle industry in Australia. Representing members from across the value chain of the electric vehicle sector, the EVC is a trusted advisor and advocate to governments and decision makers across Australia. Our mission is to drive investment and awareness to accelerate the electrification of transport for a more sustainable and prosperous Australia. As the market is emerging in Australia, our work is particularly aimed at increasing certainty for investment through policy, knowledge sharing and education. And we really must thank them for this type of facility. For the people that want to know more, they can visit their website. But it's absolutely fantastic for the service that they're giving here. They do much more than just this application, of course. This application is only a small component of what they do. So, I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope it was very informative for you. Let's now have our closing statements. So now we've seen, some basic applications for the mobile apps that we can use to find free charges located around our areas. I hope you enjoyed that video. So there's really no excuse if you really want to charge for free. There's no excuse of not finding a local charger around your area and dedicating your time to that. And only if you really, really need to, of course. If you're living in a unit, as I explained with one of my friends that does that and doesn't have solar panels or doesn't have cheap electricity rates, because I also have cheap electricity rates between 12 a.m. and 6 a.m. So for example, during the normal day, I have 38 cents a kilowatt, and I'll never charge during that time at that rate. But during 12 a.m. and 6 a.m. at night, I get it at 8 cents a kilowatt. So essentially I can charge the car completely full for a few dollars, like $3. Who wouldn't do that? Consider that with an ICE vehicle when you're paying $80 and $90 to fill a tank. It's no comparison. Well, that was the end of episode 4 and the end of the series. I really hope you enjoyed it. If I did miss anything, please leave a comment. If it's major that I've missed, I will add another episode to this series based on your recommendation. But I believe I have actually covered everything that's possible within the free EV charging network. So I really hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, share this content with someone who'd be interested, or just leave a comment. It really, really all helps. So until the next episode or until the next series, I hope to see you then. Bye for now.